Alright, so I know the potential orbs information has been released on the global version, so I thought I'd give you guys kind of a breakdown on how to go about that and recommendations on how to go through it. I've been going through it in the Japanese version for quite some time now, and I've gotten pretty much used to it at this point. But you'll see here, I'll have to look for the starting point. Okay, so every character is gonna have a starting point, like right here, and over here you're gonna see your base max levels, and then each of these are your potential elements that you can increase. So this is going to be the critical. No, actually, the multiple hits. I have mine at level 11, so it does have decent odds of this kicking in. So during battles it does help a little bit, because you can actually do back-to-back special attacks at times. So that's important, and this is the critical hits. So regardless of the type or attribute, the higher the level, the likelihood it's gonna activate a critical hit, and it's not gonna matter if it's against a strong attribute or weak attribute character, however you want to phrase it. But mine's at level 15, so I do get this activated quite a bit, and having critical hits and multiple attacks for Super Vegeta is definitely a pretty good thing. That's kind of how I went for this particular character. All right, and then this is for evasion. So the higher the level, the higher probability of you basically evading an opponent's attack. Similar to the Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, where they'll evade the attack and then counter with their special. This is just gonna have evasion on it, but for some character types, it's definitely beneficial to have it. I don't really use this as much. Maybe I think Gogeta has a decent level for it, but for the most part, I focus on multiple attacks, critical hits, and then the special attack level. This is for basically attack up for characters against a weaker attribute. So let's say your character is an agility character. So against a strength character, it's gonna, the higher the level, it's gonna do even more damage to them. Okay, and this one is kind of like the vice versa of the last one. It's defense up against weaker attributes. So, if you're a agility character, your defense against strength characters are going to go up even more. Alright, this is obviously just going to increase your special attack level. That's pretty self-explanatory on that one. Not really any need to go into detail. This is the health recovery. So whenever you collect each of the spheres, it's going to increase your amount of HP recovery for that. So mine's at level 7, and I don't really keep track of how much of an impact that has. But so if you look here, this is pretty much the entire grid. So I've unlocked 2 sections. You'll see up here. So I've unlocked 2 sections out of 4 from duplicates. So you're able to unlock different sections. So right here, where this heart is where one of the spots were. So I had to use a dupe Super Vegito card to be able to expand into these areas right here. One of the biggest advices I would make when you're going about it is unlock this section and this section first. Obviously this one first, because you can see there's 4-star sections, and I'll explain here in a second why that's important. Alright, this one has also 3 stars, so you're going to get the most benefit out of those sections. I think the other 2 sections have, they have one each, so you know, it's definitely important to prioritize going through that. All right, now these are sections for unlocking, right? So sometimes you get only one option, sometimes you'll have two options. For this star section, it had an option to choose of whether you want to go the route of increasing your multiple attacks by 3 levels or increasing your critical hits by 3 levels. And I went with the critical hits because that's what I wanted to focus on. Now, later on down the road, if you decide that you want to go a different route, there's actually a way to reselect it. So the problem with that, the problem with this though is first of all, make sure you know what you want for those sections. Think about what route you want to go with your character, what kind of potentials you want to unlock, because in order to reselect, it's going to cost you either 10 stones or another duplicate. At the very least, don't ever use a duplicate to reselect that. I think it's a huge waste. If you have, more than enough duplicates that, unlocked every section, then maybe. But I mean, in all honesty, if you really had to do it, I would just go with the stones. 10 stones to me is worth a lot less than a duplicate character. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right, so each section has things you can select. This one has critical hits and then evasion level increases. This one has the same critical hits and evasion. And this one had 3 options, multiple attacks, critical hits, and evasion. So each section is going to have options for you, and I think I have about 75% unlocked so far. But I'm still missing this section, so that's pretty much how much it's going to cost you, in addition to using a dupe character to unlock the section. But yeah, once you unlock it, you get access to all these up here, and you can tell there's not that much in here, so that's why I'm reserving those for last. I mean, you can obviously tell there's a lot more stuff here than the other 2 sections. A lot more worthwhile stuff. So, that's kind of, my recommendation is definitely take a look at your character and figure out what kind of developed route you want to go with that. For my Vegito here, I wanted to attack as many times as I could, get as many critical hits as I could, and then level up the special attack. That's pretty much the best way to do it for him, because not only is he a strong character and has pretty good attacks, especially with the special attack being at level 10. He's also got the great counter skill. So every time he counters, if you got a high level in critical hits, it's just going to increase your chances of getting critical hits, and it comes in quite handy. I'll tell you that right now. Sometimes I'll counter against an enemy and end up doing at least 150,000 in damage, if not more. Most of the time I'll do more than that, depending on the character, but that's kind of it all depends on the character and what kind of route they're going to take. Like, for example, let's see another one. Like Gogeta is another character that I unlocked a decent amount on. So yeah, only about 40%, but it's still a pretty decent amount. So I still have these available. So I think I was just waiting on stones to be ready, and I mean the potential orbs to I was saving up for those. So I only have 2 sections. Obviously, I went this route and this route. So it's definitely important to start off with those 2 routes. And then on top, you're going to see your increase development. So, it'll tell you, like this amount plus that amount is your final final statistics. So you can see here, you know, what it is. I mean, it increased quite a bit. You know, just from 40%, it's up to 13,480, 13,000 in attack, and then 66,000. But we'll switch over. All right, to hint. Yeah, this is definitely it'll definitely increase it quite a bit. I mean, you're starting off. I mean, it roughly increased 4,000 in attack, and I think it can go up to 5,000. So that's a good way to check it too. Just click on it and you'll see. And then, you know, down here it'll tell you what the, you know, development is. So, you know, let's say you're going into a really tough boss event coming up. You know, it's definitely a good idea to see, start looking at what potentials they've unlocked and what kind of focus they took in terms of, you know, what increases in level they went with. Sometimes it's kind of important to see, you know, that information on top of, you know, making sure their special attacks at level 10. So yeah, I mean, I know, you know, this is the Japanese version, but it's essentially going to be the same thing. And since, you know, they only have the announcement out on the global version, I'd figure I'd just kind of run through it in the Japanese version and pretty much show you exactly how it is. But, you know, I was at first a little bit worried how much it would change kind of the game mechanics, but it actually makes it a lot more interesting. It definitely kind of, you know, revamped it a little bit, so you know, it definitely added some new elements to the game, and you know, obviously the bosses got a little bit tougher because of this new mode included, but I actually kind of like it. You can kind of differentiate what kind of character developments you want to go with, and you know, different people do different things. So even if it's the same character, you know, depending on what route they'll go, you can kind of mix it up in terms of, you know, coming up with different strategies and whatnot. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover for this video. But you know, you do get certain rewards based on how much you progressed on the grid. Like, let's say if you moved up over 100 steps within a grid, you'll get certain items. If you increase attack by a certain amount, you'll get items. You know, same thing goes for HP and defense. They distribute orbs based on, you know, your progress on that too. So that's another kind of motivation or incentive to do them. All right, so you know, hopefully it comes out on global pretty soon, and you know, you guys can get busy with that. But you know, I'm also, you know, back into playing global, so I just started, so you know, obviously I'm not going to use it on any of the characters I currently have, but you know, if I do pull some better ones later on, you know, I'll definitely start, you know, unlocking the grid a lot more. But all right, well, that's pretty much it for this video, and you know, if you guys haven't already, you know, definitely help me out and like and subscribe that button. You know, it's only one button away, and you know, do a lot of help for me. So all right, appreciate it, and check you guys later.